Okay, good morning. Thank you for joining this session. My name is Raff Poltronieri and I'm Cloud Solutions Architect. I'm working for an Italian cloud service provider. I'm in tech since 1998 and focusing into virtual environments since 2006. I got several certifications, including VMware and AWS and VMware vExpert for the 5th years in a row. But today, I would like to expose my point of view about compliance and security. So, are they fighting? Are they enemies inside a company, or are they parts of the same vision, allied for a common goal? When we think at a cloud environment, the first doubt we have is, will this service keep safe my data? But we should clarify with this thought. Do we intend safe for secure so that nobody unauthorized can access them, or compliant to laws, to regulations, to some standard, or better, both of them? So not always a secure procedure matches with a procedure that is compliant with obligations. Security teams may be confident with the diligence and care they use to perform their job, but the procedures that they follow come from industry best practices, aren't coded and documented according to a standard. So same is the converse. The opposite is true. So not all the activities compliant to obligations are safe enough. For the same reason, standard guidelines are often insufficient to approach the security inside and also outside the company. So the result is that we need a cooperation of both elements to solve this situation. Looking ahead for a common point of contact, the topic where both focuses is the risk and its management. So both elements are composed of several procedures that describe what is and what is not to do. Every one of these procedures have their own risk if disattended. In the case of security, the risk is defined and managed through strictly technical topics, discovering vulnerabilities, performing penetration tests, configuring accordingly network devices, design architectures, monitoring intrusions, and possibly preventing them. For compliance, the risk must be managed in a broader field. We are talking of policies, talking of laws, regulations inside which the company lives and works. And the risk to be not compliant with the above could be really serious. And it depends on the broken requirement. This risk is managed through audits, interviews, many reports to record what is running on the right road and what needs to be brought back in the track lane, and also to generate evidence to satisfy a third-party rule set. This creation of evidence is critical, is fundamental to be compliant with that rule set. So the security act in a technology environment, and it aims to protect the company critical business assets. So it runs in a technology environment, but it shouldn't rely simply on devices and or tools, because the offenders have tuned their attacks moving from the technical side to the strategic one. So let's think at social networks or generation of trust on the user, on the end user, or the backdoors that vendors leave open. So in the past, administrators would take a purely technical approach and rely heavily on systems and tools to protect their network. While still necessary today, modern threats adopt much more sophisticated strategies. So now, what about compliance? The object to be protected is the same one. So again talking of digital assets of the company, but for different reasons. So there are rule sets, there are frameworks and terms that are coming from government or third party or agreement, private agreements that request this protection, this level of protection. This is not a matter of the adequacy of the level of security adopted. This level is defined by rules. That is, period. So compliance doesn't run in a technology environment, but it runs in a, let's call it, in a text, in a definition environment. So in very few words, we could state that security means implementing effective technical rules to protect that assets. On the other hand, compliance means implementing rules to meet a third-party rule set. And again, security is driven by technical principles and compliance instead by business needs to maybe facilitate operations in a particular environment. A company playing in, let's think, in a heavily regulated market like, for example, healthcare or finance or gas, must play by the rules. And security is not the one that the IT team define, but the standard defined, like PCI DSS or ISO 20001, or regulations like SOX or HIPAA, and many others that I'm forgiving now. So breaking these requirements means at least losing customer trust, at least, but it could easily move to an illegal behavior. So here comes another point of context. If IT only acts following compliance, it could be insufficient to protect the digital assets. But this is simply because security is highly dynamic. A regulator is not, it's quite static. But also compliance to some standard forces the IT team to adopt a methodology and not simply following instincts and experience. That is good way of act, but it's not enough. So we're talking about assets. Well, being compliant is also an asset. Becoming compliant with important industry standards like all the ISO certifications pushes higher the company reputation and opens unexpected opportunities, as I told before. So we can assume that security in one hand and compliance in the other hand, after all, they are good friends. So even if the first sees the second one as an obstacle, and the second one, the compliance, sees the security as an, let's call it, undisciplined schoolboy. So a baseline for a secure attitude is the role of compliance. Then the diligent security procedures built on that baseline make the company safe from all, or well, almost all threats. And a company that performs much more security than the one requested by compliance standard is remarkable in the market. The market will see that that company is trustable much more than others. Well, in a big revolution among European companies happened in 2018 with the GDPR. So this is an acronym that for sure you heard so many times in the last years. And it means General Data Protection Regulation. And this regulation is replacing the current privacy regulation. All companies handling personal data will need to adhere to that regulation and to be able to demonstrate their compliance to GDPR. On GDPR, I've been often asked by customers, will it slow down our business? And my answer is, well, it's a law. So try to pull out all you can from this situation. You have the opportunity to re-architect the so-called privacy by design and renew your IT implant, starting with the GDPR basic requirements like data controller register, data processor registers, and optimizing them for a faster response and larger scalability, protecting your data with the most recent security guidelines, documenting all this activity accurately. But again, not only for the regular authority audits, but also for your process automation. Because when you document and create a process on your day-by-day tasks, it is easier to create an automation on that repetitive task, and it saves time. After this, you will realize that you will be probably also compliant to several other standards. Other standards that will open the doors to new markets, or at least that will make you more competitive in the market you are already playing. Then there is another case where compliance is strongly linked to security. With the spread of COVID and consequently work from home, as country went into lockdown, people have seen significant and lasting changes in how we work. I remember colleagues running around the world, also me too, so many hours spent traveling to visit customers or prospects to solve customers' issues. But with these security policies and the rules rewritten caused by COVID-19, remote and home working quickly became a standard practice. So most of us are currently at home with offices closed, and the only way to get something is doing it remotely. This way of work implies a full set of threats that we previously faced in an office context. And our IT departments, with years of experience inside that context, were able to analyze and solve with a day-by-day set of security rules. So in this case, the common set of rules that allowed a home office to be compliant comes from the IT security staff itself. So the set of procedures that are required comes from a list of activities that were previously adopted inside the company. So working remotely usually means connecting to the company environment using VPN solutions, for example. So these solutions must be the same for every user of that company. It cannot be left to the remote workers. The easiest way to accomplish this is offering the user a compliant laptop, for example, preloaded with all these security precautions approved by the IT staff. Think of hundreds, thousands of users. Having a common template for the devices running remotely installed on devices saves IT department time, a lot of time, and overall shelters from casual mistakes due to repetitive activities. So as told before, this framework of compliance is internal in this case. It will follow rules that are in part written by IT and in the other part by management. They are shared by technical and business staff. So in this case, it's not an industrial standard. It's coming from within the organization with a so-called, let's call it COVID-19 secure requirements. With these requirements made clear, we don't have a security checklist assessment for every single device. And the user is immediately able to restart working as he did previously at office, with all the benefits it implies for him and for the company. We can stop it here, and thank you for attending this session. I hope it was useful for everybody.